Quick update on the 75-gallon tank. The flower horn used to be here. Unfortunately, he passed away. So I just moved the ranchu that were down here up to this tank because it's easier to water change. The filtration's better, not using sponges, using these hang-on backs. And they do a good job, the hang-on backs, of collecting all the food. By collecting the food, I can take out the filtration media and rinse them very easily. So there's very little poop to siphon out of this because it all gets collected in the filter, and I clean it once a week during the water change. Now, 2 of these are females, and then this one, I am not sure. This red one, I'd like to get that one to breed. It has good traits. Some things are happening in my personal life, so I'm not looking to be raising ranchu right now because it is very time consuming. But I will say I prefer viewing them from up here, and they're also very easy to water change. I feed them mostly algae wafers because they sink. Floating food eventually gets stuck in the hang-on backs. So I'm thinking to do that and then supplement with like koi food or cichlid food. Update on the 55 planted. Again, I'm going to clear out some of this duckweed. That's the kind of hair stuff kind of coming down there, which some people think it looks good, but that's just the roots of the duckweed. It goes pretty deep, and there's no issues with it per se, but I just don't like duckweed, and it kind of smothers some of the other floating plants. I mean, plants are probably okay because they grow a little bit up out of the water, like so. But I want to try to remove as much as I can without disrupting the other plants. Right now I only have shrimp in here, red cherry shrimp. There's one right here. And after I'm done with this tank, I'm gonna move over here to the female guppy tank planted. I think it's easier to just remove the females after they give birth to the next tank to give birth, rather than raise them up with the fry, because if one of those is a male, it could impregnate one of the mothers. We want to keep good genetics with this strain. I mean, it's not really critical for fish in general, like aquarium fish, but after a while of inbreeding, you do notice some different results. These are the Nebula guppy strain that I got on Aquabid, I think a couple years ago. But so yes, I'm going to move these to the 55 after I'm done getting rid of the duckweed. Then when they give birth in that tank, I will move them to another tank until they are out of guppy fry to birth. Then I will get another male in with them to restart this process. One quick update. I had spider plants in here floating. They died. They need more light or fertilizer or something. Did not work in my fish room. I think that was in my last video, but yeah, there's no need to do this. It does not work. If I had it under a light, it would have probably survived, but it doesn't make sense for, I guess, the way I have my tank set up to do that. So this is where they are in their new home, and I kind of like it because I can observe them more now that they're higher up. And I think I had about 5 of them. Give them a few days to make more babies. If not, I will add a male to get them pregnant again. And here's all the duckweed I removed. It doesn't look like much, but if you look down, there's a lot of it that's underwater, and it's just everywhere. Hopefully I didn't remove any shrimp when I removed these, but I think what I do when I'll bring them outside in one of the tubs or ponds, and I'll shake them out before, so that way there's still a chance that they could survive outside or survive in this tub. This is a water changing, actually a trash can that I use for water changing, and so there's stuff to eat in there, gunk and whatnot. Update on the 75-gallon dojo loach tank. Still have the 4 dojo loaches. They're getting a little chunky, a little big. They're at the roof or at the water surface mostly because I just fed, so they're looking for those pellets. But anyway, one of the changes I want to work on is moving some of these floating plants Mostly they're mostly Java ferns, and I'm trying to. What I want to do is glue them to rocks, pea gravel specifically, that I have in these tubs that are dirted. And the pea gravel is pretty small, so I can glue the smaller pieces, and it'll keep them weighed down, and the roots can expand into the soil and get fertilized. This is a dirted tank, dirted tub. Plan to do the same here. But that's going to be a tedious process. So in the meantime, I'm going to move all these plants that aren't, glued down like this one, down here to a 10-gallon moss shrimp tank that I feed every day. And little by little, I'll start moving them to the dirted tubs once they're settled in here for a little bit. Update on the 110-gallon tub. I got some of the water lettuce from the store at a discounted price since they're so little, but they should take over this tub. Also planning to drill it so that the water doesn't go past a certain height for two reasons. It's harder for predators to take the fish, less likely for the fish to jump out. I picked up some white cloud minnows, had them floating in here. They do pretty well in cold weather. They're also called the mountain minnows. They're the gold redfin variety. I'm also planning to put the ones from the Fishroom in here. Oh, and there's a frog over here. That's cool. Almost didn't see it. They're a little on the smaller side, so breeding might take a little while. They will be eating bugs and whatever lives in this tub right now. Gonna go ahead and let them out. Here are the adults. It's been a couple weeks. These adults I've had last summer, and they did really well in this tub. And I think they're going to be good to breed. I've had them, they're definitely more than a year old, so they should breed pretty well. And they just eat whatever's in the tank. Look, there you go, meeting the little ones right there. What was really interesting is they kind of schooled immediately, and they were racing, doing laps around the tub, and maybe doing some flirting, possibly some breeding. So it'll be really exciting to see, how many I end up with at the end of the summer. But they look awesome. White cloud minnows are probably my favorite community fish because they breed and they are super, super, super hardy. They can handle cold, whatever you throw at them, and they'll eat pretty much anything as far as fish food. Last year I couldn't really get them going, so hopefully this year will go better. So today I'm gonna make some changes with the dirted tub setup I have here. I have like an empty tub here. There is a ranchu in there that's not doing well, but he or she seems to be eating just fine. Just can't swim very well. But anyway, I have a rubber tubing connected to this adjacent tub. So basically, there's a siphon in this tube, and the water level stays the same no matter what. So if this one goes high, water will start siphoning here. If this one gets high, when I say high, the water level gets high, it starts siphoning to this one. So everything will be in equilibrium. And now, the reason I like it this way is if I want to top this tank off, it's very hard to do because there's dirt, and I will get dirt everywhere and make a mess. But I can just dump water in here just freely, as long as it doesn't overflow, of course, and I don't have to worry about making a mess. It'll gently siphon down. It won't make a great big siphon because the water difference is not that big. Like if this was like almost empty and this one was completely full, this would make a huge mess. Now, what I'm going to do today is do the same thing for this tub here. That way, this is my dirtiest tub, and I cut a tubing for this one. But this is like the dirtiest tub. It actually doesn't look that bad in person. On camera, maybe not. So what I'm going to do is have that siphon. So now I have 3 tubs that are all connected. And when I want a water change, I drain this one and I can fill up here without making a mess. And basically I'm water changing this tub, and this tub in one water change, if that makes sense. So I have it installed here, the tubing, and I kept it about mid-level because it won't drain past that level. It'll break the siphon. There's a little shrimp. And same thing on this side. So I think I got the right length here. But I'm going to go ahead and drain this one down. I'm going to do the bucket method and dump the buckets in the sink. So I just got the siphon started. It's going well. Oh, for the siphons, I don't suck out of the tube. I don't think it's very clean, and it's kind of hard. So what I do is I fully submerge the tube so that it's filled with only water, and then with each thumb cover up the intake and outtake, and then put one side in the tank and then one side in the bucket, and there you don't have to suck on it. Okay, I'm done draining as much as I want to drain. It's about 15 gallons. Really didn't take but 5 minutes. It was very, very quick. And I can already see proof that the siphon is working, because this water level before I started water changing was like up here, and now it's already dropped a few inches. And so what's happening is the water is getting siphoned here due to the difference in the elevation in the water level. And then same thing here. These were equal when I started the water change. Now they're two different levels. So water's coming out of here and into here. So the idea is clean water in here. I don't have to splash and make a mess in the dirty tank, in the dirty tubs. And that's going to be the water change cycle. So this is my mother Java fern. The camera actually makes it look better than it does in person, but it's not. It has a bunch of holes in certain leaves, and it seems like I think it's getting out-competed by all this moss. Java ferns seem to do better when they have substrate. This is pretty much just bare glass at the bottom, a few rocks here and there. I'm going to move it to the dirted tub, and I think what's going to happen is the roots of the Java fern are going to get into the dirt, and it'll really help the nutrients and help this plant thrive again. I think it might have just, I don't know, it might be too compressed, not a lot of room to grow. So I just pulled it out. It's interesting because the lava rock that was attached is still firmly attached. So like I lifted it by its leaves, and it picked up the lava rock and a bunch of the little black aquarium pebbles that it was also attached to. It was very, I was very impressed that it latched on so well. Probably got some hitchhikers, shrimp, and whatnot are also going to be moved. That's why I put some water in here so that they wouldn't have any problems. So there's the tank without the monster Java fern. Hopefully it does better. I tried to segregate the subsplosser tang right there with the Java moss. Looks like some is getting mixed in over there. I got to go ahead and remove that. So I placed the mother Java fern in this side of the dirtiest tub. The other tub has a lot going on. I kind of want that dwarf sage to really fill in. Don't want it to have to compete as much. And so everything is looking pretty level right now after the water change. Still a little bit of a balancing to do, but anyway, there is the Java fern, the mother plant. And so I put it in this corner for many reasons. One, I don't want to interfere with some of these other plants on this side, and this one didn't have any plants. Also, I could get some indirect lighting from this plant to the Java fern, as well as the lights that are on top of it now. They don't really need a whole lot. Trying to get a good shot here. And then I guess potentially, maybe, probably not, maybe some indirect sunlight from the window. But I don't think that's going to make much of a difference at that angle. But I think this is a good spot for it. It's got plenty of room to grow. Hopefully it keeps growing, because I feel like the last year it's been stunted in the other tank. So I hope I can get more out of it. There's also some subwasser tang attached to it that will fill in, and I will pick it as normal, but I get a lot of the babies from this Java fern over here. Also, another thing I've done is I removed most of the duckweed. Still a little bit left, so that it doesn't compete with the Java fern. And I'm going to dose with Easy Green in order to help the Java fern grow. And I'm doing this because the Java ferns, they usually feed from the water column. And I know a lot of plants feed with their roots, but Java ferns are known to feed from the water column. So Easy Green helps things out. It's not necessary. There's plenty of tanks where the way it's set up, the way you feed, the way you light it, the Java ferns are doing great. I mean, we can take a look at like this tank right here. So this Java fern right here, no holes in the leaves. It looks really healthy. It's just a young plant. That's why it's not very big. You know, same with, well, frankly, a lot of the Java fern here. And that's because, well, this tank gets fed twice a day, so that might help some. And there's snails and whatnot, but there's also the window where it gets sunlight and the aquarium light. It's not that it necessarily needs a lot of light, but sunlight is the best light for a plant. You don't want to get too much, obviously, because you will get algae, and plants don't necessarily like it, but they get plenty of what they need in this tank, and that is why they look very good. There's almost no holes in the leaves. Well, that one's not a Java fern, but the Java ferns seem to like this environment very well. For the smaller Java fern, I use 2 small pea gravel pieces and glue, super glue gel in between, and kind of sandwich the roots in there. That way it'll stay down. Works better for the smaller Java fern, I found. Got some red cherry shrimp. I'm gonna add them to the 110-gallon tub with the gold white clouds. And it's a little late in the season, but apparently these guys, it's possible to have red cherries that'll survive in colder weather, but we'll see if I can get something going and then have a lot more to harvest. And they also get a lot more redder when you have them outside. So the 10-gallon moss tank and subwasser tank, I removed some of the African water ferns and put them into this tank, super glued them to this wood here, and I stood it up because I like it better. This piece of wood, I found it one day, and it took like 2 years of having it outside for it to sink. I think it's going to be a really good piece when it fills in. The African water fern, they're kind of like Java fern, hence the name, but they have roots and then a ribosome, and they like to latch onto things, not necessarily be planted. But you can see here, it wasn't really doing well. Leaves were breaking off. It was a lot nicer when I bought it at like Petco. But basically, like, the leaves will float, and then we'll create new ribosomes and new roots, and you can glue that to rocks and what other decor you have. I didn't do these because it took a while to get all these pieces glued, and you can see I used a lot of super glue gel, those little white dots. But yeah, so this is going to be the shrimp tank, and I'm going to add them in here. I also, on purpose, brought some mole mim from my water change container, and that's going to be good for the shrimp. There's not really a filter per se. I mean, that is a sponge filter with air, but it's not really doing a whole lot. I did dose Easy Green. So I'm going to take some shrimp from the tank using a net and some algae wafers. Thanks for watching.